From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Harvest brings an end to the season for many farmers, but it's just the start of a new season on many ranches.
We've learned a lot, and I would imagine there's still a lot we can learn.
We'll have an update on the fall drive, and a new day brings more damage to light from Hurricane Helene.
Are ruined for this year and perhaps for years to come.
As we follow a developing story, union workers on strike at several key U.S. ports.
It'll cost us at minimum about $100 million in lost revenue.
The impact on everything from the meat we ship overseas to the products we buy at the grocery store. Right now on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer. Great performance in the field makes Pioneer brand corn #1 in America. For a winning season, it's Pioneer brand corn. Your best year starts here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Happening right now, at least 50,000 union longshoremen are on strike at East Coast and Gulf Coast ports. And experts warn this could be the most disruptive strike the U.S. has experienced in more than 4 decades. The move crippling the transfer of a wide variety of goods, including agriculture. Now we begin our team coverage with Laura Aguirre for the latest on what's at stake.
They are taking it all the way to the picket line. Nearly 50,000 members of the International Longshoremen's Association went on strike at the stroke of midnight Tuesday.
We're out here for one reason, fighting for our rights, fighting for our families.
Our members have done the homework. They know their worth, and essentially they demand fair wages and better benefits.
But after weeks of tense negotiations with the United States Maritime Alliance, acceptable numbers on that worth haven't been reached. The alliance, which represents the major shipping lines, terminal operators, and port authorities, has offered wage hikes and claims the union isn't negotiating in good faith. Many members feel sacrifices made during the pandemic are being overlooked.
We didn't stop working. When the world went home, they couldn't go nowhere, the longshoremen, we worked these docks night and day.
Docks that are now at a virtual standstill along the U.S. East and Gulf coasts. This could stop the flow of a wide array of consumer goods into the country.
You're probably going to pay more for it, and it's going to take longer for you to get it.
The union says it won't be intimidated by a timeline.
Our membership's prepared to wait it out as long as it takes to secure a fair contract.
But the ILA's president does have a prediction.
We'll bring this country down in 3 weeks. Now it's time I want a piece of that pie for my members.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting for AgDay.
We've been keeping you updated on the impact this strike could have on U.S. ag exports, specifically meat. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins us. And Michelle, meat industry experts say this strike is a big concern.
Yeah, that's right, Clinton, because nearly half of U.S. meat export volume is shipped through the East and Gulf Coast ports in refrigerated containers to key export customers. Officials tell me that the hit to the pork sector will be harder than the beef sector, with nearly a third of U.S. pork supplies being exported. And the timing could not be worse. Any way you slice it, a strike at East and Gulf Coast ports will cause supply chain disruptions, backing up meat exports and creating a financial hit.
We estimate for every week that the strike goes on, it'll cost us at minimum about $100 million in lost revenue. But even more importantly would be the fact that we're not able to service our customers globally.
Pork exports are the biggest concern. While 55% of waterborne shipments go through the West Coast ports, the East and Gulf Coast are also key.
I look at the pork side, 45% of our waterborne exports are through the East and Gulf, particularly concentrated heavily in the Caribbean, Central America, Dominican Republic, South America, and even into some Asia destinations on the frozen pork side as well.
And the timing couldn't be worse for the pork industry, which was on record export pace this year.
I mean, Q4 on the pork side in particular is always the peak quarter for exports, also the peak quarter for production for pork in the U.S.
Hallstrom says on the beef side, not as much volume goes through those ports, but the exports go to high-value regions like Central and South America and the EU.
About 30% of the waterborne exports, but there is some high-value business that goes out, chilled especially, that is a real concern for the beef side.
And the Port of Houston is also a key area for pork and beef variety meats, with cuts going to Egypt and South Africa. Plus, the strike will cause supply chain disruptions that could last for weeks.
Well, there's varying opinions on that, but some people say that for every day of the strike, it'll take a week for the industry to work through the congestion. And I can guarantee the congestion has already started.
And that will put more burden on the West Coast ports for meat exports, which had finally gotten backlogs cleared up from COVID. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Meanwhile, a strike could be coming at Cargill in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Teamsters Local 238 warning on social media that negotiations between the union and Cargill have reached a critical point. It says its contract with the company expired on Monday night, and it says it has been in discussions over wages and working conditions impacting about 100 workers. Now, the union says it remains hopeful Cargill will bargain in good faith and avoid disrupting operations. We continue to also follow another developing story. Hundreds of people remain unaccounted for in North Carolina in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Now, across the western part of the state, damaged roads combined with cell and internet outages have cut towns off from critical supplies for days. But yesterday, officials announced the reopening of Interstate 40 east from Macomb County, which is helping to get aid to people in need. And that aid is coming in many forms. Mountain Mule Packer Ranch is making a 245-mile trek across the state to Weaverville in order to deliver supplies. Owners say each animal can carry 200 pounds of much-needed gear to hard-to-reach locations. For producers in the state, fields underwater could face a long recovery.
Are ruined for this year and perhaps for years to come due to extensive damage, debris, and potential contamination from floodwaters.
FEMA, with the help of the National Guard, is sending in millions of liters of water and 600,000 meals for distribution. President Biden planning to fly over Asheville later today to survey the damage. Rain is once again in the forecast for some areas hit hard by Hurricane Helene. Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht joins us with an update on that.
Coming up for our Wednesday, more rain in the forecast, slowly working the remnants of Helene out of the United States. It's been almost a week. In fact, it's been more than a week for rain in those higher terrains where you've seen Western Carolina, a lot of the damage coming in. Still some rain in the forecast for Wednesday morning. By Wednesday afternoon, that system, which is going to be right here. Now, it's a combination of what was left of Helene as well as a mid-latitude cyclone, a fancy word of saying a more traditional low-pressure system back out over the Atlantic. It's worth noting, you may get another tropical system out of that moving away from the East Coast. Coming back here, you do have a ridge of high pressure once again developing in the wake of that system. Back down here to the south, though, more tropical moisture. I don't expect much in the way of significant development, but it is worth watching. And talk about tradition, Adara of Illinois sharing this photo of 3 of her family members harvesting. She says it's her parents' 50th harvest this year, and her son has been around for 13 of them. She says mom is a semi-driver, son handles the grain cart, and her dad is still farming strong in the seat of the combine. It really is all about family. I'll have more in your forecast coming up.
Harvest right now continuing to run ahead of schedule. The latest crop progress report from USDA showing 21% of the corn crop has met with the combine. That's 3% ahead of average. Now for soybeans, 26% is harvested, 8% ahead of average. Cotton harvest now at 20%, 4 points ahead of the 5-year average. And winter wheat planting now well underway with 39% in the ground, 1% ahead of the 5-year average. Grains continue to make gains on Tuesday. We'll dig into that along with a big day for hogs coming up next. As more signs of autumn appear in rural America, we check out the fall drive in Idaho.
Scan now to register for the Milk Business Conference 2024. Early bird rate expires October 31st.
Grains continue to climb, and wheat had a big day on Tuesday. AgDay's Michelle Rook has more on that and the rise in pork in markets now.
Well, grains ending higher on a Tuesday. Randy Martinson with Martinson Ag is back with us with analysis. And Randy, let's start off talking about the corn market. Strong close, new highs for the move. Is it still all about fund short covering? Is there more to it?
Well, I think that's a lot of it. I mean, that's a big part of it. I mean, right now, I think the report has the funds right now holding their smallest short position in 4 years in corn. So I think that's really helping to keep the market pushing forward. We're seeing decent demand, from other, as we're seeing Mexico and unknown destination buying corn from the U.S. I think yields being variable, all that is coming in to help support the market.
So let's talk about the technicals, because December corn right up in that 430 area. Where's the next objective technically we need to go to get the funds to keep buying here?
Well, I think it's got to cross above 435 and close above that. I mean, we broke up above the 430 level today. We couldn't hold it. We slipped back down. So I think if we can get above that 435, that could open this thing up to 450. We still have a fairly good sized ending stocks estimate coming, so it's going to be hard to look at the corn market to do a runaway. But as long as the funds want to continue to cover their positions, it really isn't going to matter where the stocks estimate falls.
Double-digit gains in the wheat market. Was that weather premium or war premium?
I think we started off the day with it being weather premium because of the hot, dry conditions in the U.S. Southern Plains, slowing planting. Also, the Black Sea region, especially Ukraine and Russia, Australia seeing problems, the European Union seeing problems. But then once the war started, or we started to see visuals of the war taking place between Israel and Iran and the missile attacks, I think that helped push the wheat market give it that extra push to be able to get double-digit gains.
You're seeing kind of a tug of war between fund short covering in the soybeans versus harvest pressure, aren't you?
I do think that right now the funds are kind of leading this thing. We're seeing good harvest progress, and a lot of those beans are coming to town, which, we kind of saw clarification of that in the stocks report, as right now farmers are sitting on a lot of old crop, and a lot of the new crops got to be coming to town, and I think that's what's happening to the beans.
Thanks for joining us, Randy Martinson with Martinson Ag. We'll have more AgDay coming up.
Precipitation forecast over the next 24 hours, again revisiting kind of the remnants of what's left over from Helene, both in the circulation and the moisture. Anything more than 1/10 of an inch is, again, unwanted in and across parts of Carolina, also into West Virginia, back up here to the north. That was inundated with a lot of that water. As we go deeper into the forecast, you'll start to see another weak low pressure system that's going to bring in some scattered showers to the northeast, and then a possibly tropical system. I'll say tropical moisture is going to be around. Right now, it's too early to tell whether or not we'll get significant development or development at all. That being said, as we've talked about before, when it comes to tropical systems, the moisture is always going to be there. It's more about how well it organizes. So even if we don't get a tropical storm or a tropical depression, there's still going to be rain around, tropical moisture around, which could result in 2 to 3 inches of rainfall through parts of the southeast. And again, as I mentioned with Carolina, and not expecting much in the way of significant rainfall, but a little bit after what we just went through is going to create some problems. So again, that's precipitation the next 7 days. The jet stream kind of showing that typical autumn pattern where we have a zonal flow Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then we'll start to kick in some of the stronger troughs. Doesn't look like this weekend, but next week we'll keep our eye peeled for that. A ridge of high pressure is really going to block things up back here to the west as well. So any kind of energy is going to scoop more to the north Sunday and into Monday rather than diving down to the south. So not expecting much of anything in the way of strong systems, low pressure systems, or strong cold fronts working across the United States in the next 6 to 7 days. New York, mostly cloudy, high around 65 degrees. I'll be honest, I thought that said Rambo. Deerfield, Wisconsin, sunny, high around 72, low of 49 degrees. And Riverton, Wyoming, sunny, high around 85 degrees, low of 42 degrees.
Smithfield Foods says it has cut its hog production by about 20%. The world's largest pork processor saying in an email statement it's due to the closure of its slaughter plant in Vernon, California earlier this year, along with other strategic decisions to improve and optimize its hog production business unit. It also says it has reduced farm operations in Missouri, Utah, Arizona, California, and along the East Coast. Reuters saying pork producers lost money last year as pig prices and consumer demand for pork struggled, while producers also faced those higher labor costs and other expenses, leading them to cut supplies. And October has arrived, and you know what that means. It's also the arrival of Porktober. Farm Journal's pork business says the celebration started years ago when October marked the time of year when hogs were traditionally marketed. But editor Jennifer Scheich says now is a great time to promote pork and its many nutritional qualities, including amino acids, vitamins, and protein. Jennifer inviting folks to join the fun of celebrating Porktober, first by sharing their story, having face-to-face conversations with consumers, along with sharing photos of pigs and husbandry skills on social media. For more, you can check out this story over at Farm Journal's Pork Business website and let us know your favorite part of Porktober. All right, from pork to beef, we're off to the wide open range of Idaho as ranchers start the fall drive toward winter. That story next.
AgDay is brought to you by Winfield United. Unlock the full potential of every field with Winfield United crop protection solutions built from decades of research. Built for success, built for you, built for it. Learn more at winfieldunited.com. Fall Drive on AgDay is brought to you by Sedectin, the industry's #1 selling pour-on dewormer from Elanco.
This fall, cattlemen and women across the country are working hard to get their herds ready for the winter months. In Idaho, at the Burgess Ranch, the fall drive is a time of transition and preparation for the work ahead. The fall sun warms the backs of these Angus cows in Homedale, Idaho, as Doug Burgess checks his purebred herd.
Usually we don't start feeding hay until around the 1st of December on those cows.
An operation split in two, with a commercial herd located in the mountains and his purebred bunch and the farm located in the valley. These are some of the moments he enjoys most.
I enjoy it because I quit haying yesterday.
Burgess caught the cattle bug while growing up in Northern California.
Some of that Northern California is pretty rough, and some of them cows would get wild. And I had some really good dogs, and I would gather them cattle and buy them for 10 cents on the dollar.
That was his start. His education began when they relocated to Idaho.
We've learned a lot, and I would imagine there's still a lot we can learn.
One of the biggest hurdles has been managing a herd at higher altitude.
We started in the registered deal because we couldn't find bulls that were acclimated to where we run cows.
And in this country, there's another danger.
Fire's an ever-present danger. There's been 3 fires right here that you could see from the house in 22 years.
Including one a few years ago.
As big as this country is, there's going to be drought and fires, and somebody's going to get hammered one way or another. You just got to bow your neck and live through it.
Those lived experiences are abundant on this operation, where fall includes driving the commercial herd home 35 miles over 3 days across the BLM.
I guess I'm different. I like to follow a cow. It's the most peaceful time for me to trail a cow, and them cows don't have calves on them, and you can walk along and visit with your friends. My brother and his buddies from California used to come up till they got too old to ride.
His love of the country, the cattle, and the lifestyle doesn't overshadow the responsibility Burgess shares for the future.
It just takes more money to operate. And if you don't operate it like a business, you won't have it very long. I think 14 or 15 maybe. It was more net money then than there is now at $3 calves. And because of the expenses went up so much.
Lessons he's teaching to the next generation.
I hope my youngest granddaughter gets out of high school and college and wants to come back and help me all the time.
Until then, he'll enjoy the end of haying and irrigation season while making plans to get the herd back down the mountain.
You need to have some plan in place, and I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep trying to do what I'm doing, and it doesn't bother me how ineffective I can get. But I'm going to do the same thing and expect different results.
One fall day at a time.
The fall, we just kind of get ready for for the next year and hope it's better than the last ones.
And that's all the time we have this morning. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day on the Farm Country.